You swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
Could you please state your name for the record?
Terry Chapin?
And how are you employed, Ms. Chapin?
Well, I dabbled around for a little bit, but right now I'm a motivational speaker. I travel all around the world giving speeches to youth and young adults, and I love it. It's really my passion, meeting with people, interacting. It's what makes me full.
Now, Ms. Chapin, are you familiar with the Parks and Durans?
Of course, yes. For a number of years, I lived right next door to the Parks, and on the other side of them were the Duran family.
And did you have any experience with these families?
Yeah, I saw them from time to time, but I travel a lot for work, so I didn't get to know either family well. Really, the most I saw of either of them was the two children, Sydney and Jesse, playing together in the park's yard during the day.
Now, Ms. Chapin, I'd like to move to the morning of August 18th. Were you home that morning?
Yes, I was.
And what happened that morning?
I woke up to this loud sound around about 9:45 that morning. Brought me straight out of bed, and I wasn't sure quite what it was, but I thought I should go over next door and try to see what was going on.
So, did you go next door?
I did. I went to the Parks, and I went up to the window and I peeked through to see if I could see anything or anyone.
Did you see anything inside?
Yeah, I saw a little girl lying there, and she was in full blood. I thought her to be Sydney Park, who lived next door, and she was just 11 at the time. It was awful.
Did you call any emergency personnel?
Yeah, right there. When I was looking through the window, I called 911. It was about 9:53 that morning.
And what did you do next?
Well, I didn't know if Cindy was dead or if she needed help, so I went inside to see what I could do.
And what happened once you entered the home?
Well, I walked in the first room I walked into was the living room where Cindy was lying. And then I saw Jesse Duran as well.
Now, did Jesse see you?
Not at first, but then once he did, he turned to me.
Did Jesse say anything to you?
Not at first. She just looked so blank. It was, it was a little off-putting. She just looked so scared and blank and frightened, and I thought she must have been in shock. With all the girls sitting right there.
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Response?
Your Honor, the witness is testifying to her perception, her rationally based perception, and thus as a lay witness can testify to what she perceived.
If I may briefly respond. This witness is not qualified in any form of medical training and therefore not have the ability to identify shock, be it her perception or not. The jury should not take this as a medical professional's opinion.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, we're not asking the jury to take this as a medical professional assessment. We're just stating her rationally based perception, and thus it can be stated today in court.
I will overrule the objection and instruct the jury that they are not to take this witness's shocked as a medical opinion, but as a lay opinion on the common use of the term shock.
Thank you.
Now, what happened next?
Well, I asked if what was going. I was trying to figure out what was going on, so I approached Cindy's body and I went to feel if she was still breathing, and Jesse said she's dead.
Now, was Sydney still breathing?
No, unfortunately not.
So, what happened after you checked Sydney?
Well, things were happening fast, and then Jesse started sobbing. It was heart-wrenching. This other little girl is just crying so hard, and she was apologizing and talking about how this was all just this big accident and something they were playing together, and she was cut off by sirens not a minute later.
Now, thinking back at that, did Jessie say anything else before she started sobbing?
When she said that Cindy was dead and
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay as to the statements of Jesse Duran.
May I respond, John?
Yes.
Pursuant to Rule 802, this is an excited utterance. Jessie Duran had just gone through the traumatic event of seeing her best friend dead, and thus, as an excited utterance, this is an exception to hearsay.
Your Honor, if I may respond?
Yes.
802 does not constitute the exception to hearsay that opposing counsel is pursuing.
So, yeah, I know, that's beside the point, but, the objection is sustained, I think that long after would not count as an excited utterance.
Now, Ms. Chapin, what happened next?
Well, poor Jessie, she was sobbing and the sirens went off, so I ran outside to tell the paramedics, you know, what was going on and what I had seen so far. And after that event, I hung around. I wanted to know what was going on right next door, and you know, I just can't get that grief-stricken, sobbing little girl out of my head.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Devin Peasy for the plaintiff, may I inquire? You awoke that morning to a bang.
Yes,
When you awoke, you were suffering from a hangover.
I wasn't exactly on my A game that morning, but when I saw Sydney, you know, I didn't know her that
Bringing you
well, but
back to my question. When you woke that morning, you were suffering from a hangover.
yes, and I know where you're going with this, but, you know, seeing my
If I may,
11-year-old
I'll ask the
neighbor.
questions. I apologize. You had had several drinks the night before.
I had, yes.
You had had more vodkas and Red Bull than you could count.
I had, but like I said, seeing that little girl just lying in that living
I
room, all the
apologize. We'll get
blood,
there.
it snapped me right into that moment. And there's no way that you can possibly forget seeing an 11-year-old girl,
It's my
same age
life.
as your niece. It's awful.
The operator that you had contacted had inquired if you were drunk.
Objection hearsay, Your Honor.
Response?
Your Honor, I did not refer to a specific statement, and therefore, as there is no specific statement being used for any form of the truth of the matter asserted, I would ask.
May I
Objection.
respond, Your Honor?
Yes, you may respond.
Your Honor, opposing counsel is asking her to testify to what his question is leading her to testify about the statements that an operator would have made about her supposed intoxication. And those are out-of-court statements that are being offered for the truth of the matter and thus are hearsay in today's case.
The question asks about a question which is not a statement or hearsay, so the objection is overruled. Yeah. Cool.
Would you like me to re-ask the question?
No, I remember. The operator did inquire. I'm sure I sounded like a wreck, like I always do in the morning. I'm not really a morning person.
When you first entered the home, you heard talking.
Yes, I did.
You discovered Jessie was speaking on the phone.
Yeah, I saw Jessie on a cell phone, yeah.
While Jessie was speaking, she was calm and emotionless.
She was, like I said, she was just so blank. I couldn't think of other reasons except for she must have been in some kind of shock. I mean, it's awful what had just happened.
When you first saw Jessie, she was not crying.
That's correct. She, like I said, she looked like she was in shock. She was completely blank.
When you first saw Jessie, Jessie was expressing no emotion whatsoever.
Like I just said, the shock that I thought I saw.
You are not a medical expert.
by no means, but I've seen shock before. I think most of us all have.
When you went for the revolver, Jesse told you, don't touch the gun.
Right, which, you know, in retrospect, is smart. I don't want to mess with what made me at the crime scene.
The way Jesse had said that scared you.
Yeah, I mean, this kid's so blank, you know, she was so shocked and obviously taken back by what was going on.
Thank you. No further questions.
Any redirect?
Yes, briefly, Your Honor.